All right. Hello, guys. This is my talk about car hacking plus bug hunting field guide for application security hackers. My name is Jay Turla, and I'm from Bugcrowd. So, who am I? Um, I'm also known as Shipcode in Twitter and Jadman in RootCon. And I'm a security operations manager at the Philippines for Bugcrowd, and I'm also a RootCon goon or a CFP review board for the SAD conference, which is a hacker conference in the Philippines. I am not the author of Turla malware, which is it's a Russian malware. I'm not Russian, I'm Filipino. I'm also one of the main organizers of the Car Hacking Village in Recon and the Philippines, which is Car Hack Village PH as the hashtag for Twitter. I also contribute to Metasploit for auxiliary and exploit modules, but not much ready unlike before. My last auxiliary module is related to the hardware bridge, which can be used for interacting with the CAN bus. As a summary, this talk will teach you the secrets or techniques in succeeding in a car hacking bug bash, phone to own, or any hacking contest that, of course, involves about hacking cars. And as what you can see from the video, it's actually a picture of two successful hackers that I know. This is a sample picture from the car hacking bug bash sample payout, wherein this is the total scoreboard and the total of bounties paid for car hacking, or should I say the car hacking bug bash. This is a sample clipping from ZDNet, and for the Phone to Own contest, a Tesla car was hacked at the said contest, and the duo was able to win the competition's overall standings. They also get to keep the car, which is a very good reward. And they used the GIT bug in the browser render process to execute code on the car's firmware and show a message on its entertainment system or infotainment system. So the duo was able to keep the car, and they were also received 35,000 US dollars as a bounty or reward. So yep. Now, how do I start to be a car hacker, right? If I'm an application security hacker that usually focuses on mobile application security bugs, web application security bugs. So how do I get involved with car hacking in order to get some bounties as well from hacking cars or automobiles? The first thing, my favorite book, of course, The Car Hacker's Handbook, a guide for the penetration tester, written by Craig Smith. There's a paperback version and ebook version, and there's the online version rendered on HTML, of course. It's for free, the one on the online version, but if you want to buy the book, there's a paperback version and there's also an ebook version. I also have one, which is the ebook version. I mean, I have two copies, one for the ebook version and one for the uh, paperback version, which has a signature of Craig Smith. Here are some good car hacking resources that I always, give out to folks who ask me about where's where to start about hacking cars. First thing first, we have the NanoCan, how you can create your low-cost can sniffer or car hacking tool for just $5. So get that GitHub link from Mintonet. And then there's also getting started with car hacking from the carhackingvillage.com website, which teaches you how to play with CAN utils or how to use it. And then there's also CAN bus basics with hands-on fuzzing by Ian Tabor. Ian Tabor is also the guy who made the Nanocan, and he's my mentor. There's also a curated list of awesome resources, books, hardware, software applications, people to follow, and also more cool stuff about vehicle security, car hacking, and tinkering with the functionality of your car. It's on GitHub by Jared the Coder under Awesome Vehicle Security. There's tons of information there that you might want to follow or grab on. There's also car hacking village videos uploaded, especially the ones presented in DAFCON. And of course, if you are in a hacker conference, I know that most of you guys here love the Appsec village as well as I do. But also, please don't forget to visit the car hacking village, which has, if you go to carhackingvillage.com/events, you get to know the events, the nearest events, or when is the next car hacking village expo. And then the last one is, of course, made by TechMaker UA, Adventures in Building a Canvas Sniffer. If you want to have a good hardware that you could start after building your NanoCan, you might want to build a better canvas sniffer, which I also like. I have my own for that. And the guys from TechMaker gave a presentation about it. So how did I started back in the day? Aside from the resources, um, I mostly noticed that people teach car hacking in other countries without hardware, and they usually focus on virtual canvas emulators. There's no, it's not bad if you try that one, but please, I would urge you or advise you to also pick up your own hardware. You can buy your own instrument cluster, which is usually $20 to $30. Or, if you have a car, you can also play with your infotainment system. I was able to play with my own infotainment and also was able to execute command execution via the USB flash drive. And then from the left image, you can actually see that I was able to fuzz my instrument cluster by sending CAN messages on the panel using NanoCam, which is just a $5 car hacking tool. You only need an MCP 2515, then you hook it up with an Arduino Nano. So that's why it's called NanoCam. Like I said, there are also some simulators. If you don't have a hardware yet, you can clone the repository from Craig Smith, which has his repository about the UDS server, which is free, and also the instrument cluster simulator, which is the IC Sim. And if you want to have a hardware-based ECU simulator, there's available in Tindy, but I would advise you know, um, to build your own ECU kit. But if you don't have one, you can have the ECU simulator available in Tindy.com or other stores like Amazon. So my main inspiration is the Car Hacking Village release. So uh, I've learned a lot from visiting the Car Hacking Village. I've learned a lot from playing with some of the test benches that were in the venue. I've also, you know, got inspired into not just opening a car, but playing with the Canvas network as well. Um, my other advice really is when aside from the information, you need to have practical demos or practical usage of the tools that you have, or some of the information that you were able to read on the internet or the resources that I gave you. I would advise to invest or acquire some tools required for interacting with CAN or other protocols like FlexRay. I bought a Machina P1. Um, I was given by Mintadet with beside Scotland badge, which is actually a nanocan from before. I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago. And then I also bought from DEFCON the Cantac tool, and then the Techmaker guys gave me the their own Canva sniffer, during a car hacking bug bash. The good thing about car hacking bug bash is, aside from being able to meet car hackers, you also get to, you know, get some free stuff that maybe they might have. And then I also bought the ValueCan 4 during the second to the last DerbyCon from Carfucker, or the founder of the Car Hacking Village. And all I can say is, you need to have some of your collection of can hacking tools. There's also an open source GitHub repo put up together by Jay Gamblin, and it's called the Car Hacking Tools. It is a collection of scripts to help you jumpstart your car research and hacking. All the scripts are designed to run on Ubuntu, Debian, and Kali. You can just install the repo via the command line that is presented on the screen. Next up, I've seen these tools as always in car hacking bug bashes. By the way, to let you know, my experience is usually on triaging bugs. All right. But while I'm there, I'm also there to observe the car hackers and also, you know, play with some of the targets that are there during the bug bash. So most of the tools, these are software tools or applications. These are the common enterprise tools that I see that were used by some of the car hackers that we have. We have the vehicle spy, which you can see from the left image, and from the right image, you can see the canoe, which is also a good tool. And then we also have, aside from investing some, can hacking tools or tools for car hacking, you need to have some of your hardware hacking tools or network penetration tools. I even have my own toolbox that contains my Alpha card, some of my CAN sniffers, my HackRF, my Wi-Fi pineapple, because car hacking is not just about hacking the CAN. Okay, what if the car, of course, modern cars nowadays have hardware that allows it to interface with the internet. Take, for example, the telematics unit or also the infotainment or entertainment system. So most of them are hooked up via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. So you might want to bring your Bluetooth hardware hacking tools or your Wi-Fi penetration tools. Okay. Next up, we have the sample ratings. Um, Sorry for that pause. These are the sample ratings or common classifications, which can be used as a guide for hunting common bugs in car hacking, and so that you may be able to know what do we look for during the bug bash, and so that you will be informed the ratings for automotive security bugs. Like, take for example, P1 is for critical, P5 is informational, P4 is low, P3 is medium, and then P2 is high. So P1, of course, you get the most highest payout if you get a P1 bug, and it's usually 25 to 35,000 US dollars. So imagine getting two P1s, pretty much like you earn 50 US dollars to 60,000 US dollars in just, you know, for the duration of the car hacking bug bash, which is pretty much like a week or 5 days. And then maybe you have some questions about why why is there a classification? What if I can just do a command execution? So when you try to look on the sample VRT that I've also helped together with our client or partner, you can see from there that there's a P3, wherein even though it's code execution, it's only P3. That's because there is no CAN bus pivot. But if you can execute commands and be able to send CAN messages through your code execution, that's considered a CAN bus pivot. which is P2. So why why is it that this bug is rated as P3 and then this other bug is rated as P2? That's because we need to consider in car hacking, we usually rely on the Terra. We didn't apply this before, but we've seen that almost all of the automotive companies right now rely on Terra. And for that, we usually focus on the kind of bug based on the impact of the bug. How high can you go? How high can you elevate your privileges? Is it only code execution without canvas pivot, or can you send messages on the dirty side, right? And the exploitability, what kind of exploit is it? How far you can go as well, and what are the things that you could do? What is the attack surface? What kind of proof of concept can you apply for the exploitability of the bug? The proximity, how near are you in the vehicle? Do you need to be connected to the internet? Do you need the vehicle to be connected to the GSM or to the radio station or the radio frequency? And of course, just like any CVSS, it also relies on the CIA triad, not the mafia, but it's all about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So it's pretty much like POC JTFL. So what are the some common checklists that are submitted in the bug, or I mean in the bug bug bash event, and then some common issues that are submitted. When you say common issues, uh, these are some of the bugs that are submitted to us at first, or common bugs submitted to us and are duplicated for other car hackers, because it's really common bugs and it's the most common things that or bugs that researchers look for. So next up, we'll get to know about this. So one of the most common checklists or bugs that are submitted, and in fact, some of this could be P1 as well, or P2 or P3. Uh, One of this is being able to send messages from the dirty side to the clean side. Uh, Take, for example, being able to um, do an easy reset or airbag deployment via the OBD2, the infotainment, the radio consoles, etc. And then are you able to inject disallowed messages in the CAN bus? What if it's not that kind of CAN messages is not really allowed? So if you can do that, then it's also rewardable. Other common things for IoT devices in the car are, of course, format string vulnerabilities to the infotainment, to the radio head units, the Bluetooth or the Wi-Fi and the radio. And then, of course, because these are IoT boxes, uh, you might want to check the services that these boxes have, or these computer boxes have. For the telematics, the infotainment, or the radio head unit, if you connect to your car and then you try to scan the ports or the services running, maybe you can find some uh, services wherein you can just get shell without authentication. We've seen bugs like that previously. Telnet, FTP, SSH, or any APIs that you could connect to. And then denial of service on the Canvas network using Canvas floods, the common fire hose attack. Uh, there are a lot of fuzzers out there dedicated to conducting denial of service on the CAN bus. There's also a Metasploit module related to it, or there's also a common bash script that I'll be sharing later on to do this kind of attack. Replay or relay and roll gem attacks on the key fob. Can you do this? Sometimes this kind of bug is out of scope or it's informational because it's really common back then, but right now because of you know some of these attacks are getting common, so sometimes it's out of scope already. And then we also have OTA firmware manipulation, which Also is related to the infotainment. Can you try to reverse engineer it and replace it with your own reverse engineered firmware with malicious information or code execution? We also have KFOB cloning. Are you able to clone the KFOB? Then source code dump of the hardware. That's also one of the common issues that researchers are submitting as well. And you are rewarded with a pretty handsome um, reward for it. It's usually P2. Uh, of course, the common Bluetooth stack buffer overflow, which could lead to code execution or sometimes just deny of service or the breaking of the device. It's also rewardable. The breaking of the device is usually P4, but if you could escalate it to code execution, being able to run code on it, and then being able to send messages from other side, and that's of course a P1. And then Tencent Security Lab, Keen Lab has a lot of POCs relating to this one. There's also code execution via the USB drive, the SD card, or the CD drive. So any of the attack surfaces that maybe your car has, if you can do code execution via this input devices, uh, that's also rewardable. And then, of course, the sample. This is a sample for being able to send frames on the dirty side via the OBD2 or the onboard diagnostics from the infotainment system or other dirty side, uh, the radio head units. So if you can, then it might be considered as a broken off or secure gateway bypass if the car has a firewall. And in fact, some of the cars have firewall nowadays, especially 2018 vehicles from above, from a certain company that I can't disclose. But of course, some of you might know what brand is this. So if you can send of this two frames from the CDF or 7E1 or any known UDS messages, if it gets successful, the positive reply from the frame should be 025101. If you can do that, it's rewardable. So you can get a reward for it, which is really good as well. Negative responses usually starts with 03, which is negative. 025101, that's the positive. And as an information, these two frames do ECU hard reset. So you can do a hard reset to the ECU by sending these two CAN frames. Even though just one of these frames from the 7DF was it, which is a common arbitration ID for UDS. If you can do that, then uh, you should be able to do an ECU hard reset. There's also some of this unauthorized scan access. So if you are able to find twisted wires that you can sniff or send CAN messages, and then you are able to open the car or do an ECU hard reset, bypass for the firewall, then of course that's also rewardable. But take note of the proximity. So it might not be a P1 anymore because you need to rip off something. But if the wire is something that you could just plug directly on the back of the car, then it varies on the proximity of the car. This is a sample of a fire hose attack, which is of course a can injection DOS. It's a bash script, and then you send this message consecutively under arbitration ID 00, and then with 8 bytes of data. So what if it works and you're able to DOS the CAN bus? That's rewardable under P4. And then, of course, just like attacking a web application or a network on your client, you might want to do recon, right? So if you are able to do a recon, you can achieve more attacks. You can able to understand what are the possible attack surfaces, right, of the scope. So I would advise to use Karen Caribou, which is a Python tool, a car security exploration tool that I love. And if you want to do a UDS discovery, you can just run this tool with cc.py UDS discovery. So you can, for this kind of module that Karen Caribou has, I'm actually sending diagnostic session control to this uh, UDS arbitration IDs. And that's what you can see. I was able to discover on the ECU simulator that it has 710, 7DF, 7E0 as UDS arbitration ID, and then the reply for the diagnostic session control is 77A. So these are the responses for uh, the said arbitration IDs when I send something on it. There's also a couple of Metasploit modules that are available, and of course, Metasploit is free. So one of them is, of course, for interfacing with the CAN network. You have the hardware bridge server, and then from there you have, if you're already connected to the CAN, you can launch CAN flood. You might want to do this. Um, you also have a module called PDT, which allows you to check for and prep the pyrotechnic devices like the airbag. So if you can actually do this, execute this module, and then you're on the OBD2, it's pretty much like a gateway bypass because you were able to send messages to the dirty side, to the clean side. So imagine if you could pop up the airbags or the battery clumps, you can do something to interact with it with just the OBD2. Yeah, that's a bug, of course. And then there's also a module called uh, Malibu overheat, which is a sample module to flood a temp gauge on a 2006 Malibu. And what if this kind this kind of module also affects other cars? So and then cause a denial of service. That's also rewardable. Then there's also identify modules for scanning the CAN bus for diagnostic modules. Then there's also a module for getting the vehicle information, such as the VIN from the target module. And then, of course, a module that allows you to probe different data points in a CAN packet. This is a Metasploit on action, and I'm connected to the hardware bridge. I was able to execute the auxiliary module for the CAN flood, targeting the virtual CAN 0 just as a POC. And, it executed the module, and I tried to dump uh, on the virtual CAN network, and I see tons of arbitration IDs that were sent together with their data. So if if you want to practice with the hardware bridge Metasploit modules, you can do so with just um, sniffing your virtual CAN bus and then targeting the virtual CAN bus with the Metasploit modules already available. There's also a good hardware hacking cheat sheet by M. Aaron Magish from Payato Labs. Uh, this is also very useful when you have test benches that you could actually rip off during the car hacking bug bash, and especially getting with a UART shell, the OpenCD, and some debuggers. So this is really a good guide. And there's also a good reference, pretty much like IoT hacking on an infotainment. So there's a good link for mass.weeks.com/serial. I actually have this kind of infotainment, so that's why I just posted this as a slide as well, and I was able to get the URT shell for the shell. I mean, so there are some misconceptions that car hacking is just for car hackers. It's actually not the case. Okay, that's actually not true. It's not just about IoT even hacking. It's not just about hardware hacking. It's not. just about radio. It's not just about flex ray hacking. It's not just about canvas attacks. The sample canvas attacks that I've actually presented a while ago, some of the images that you were able to see as a proof of concept. It's not just about that. Web and mobile hacking skills are also essential skills. There are Android and iOS apps connected through telemetry or for interfacing with the infotainment or entertainment system. There are also update servers when you try to update your infotainment or some of the telematics in your unit. So there's firmware updates, and maybe you could try to sniff or perform SQL injection or fuzzing on the web. So the most common thoughts here are how connected is your car? Does it have API endpoints? So you need to do a recon and identify attack services that have web servers and APIs. And OWASP Top 10 is your friend for this. So web hacking essential skills. Take for example the OWASP Top 10 vulnerabilities. So like I said, does it have API server? Is your car running on a web server? So you might want to try the OWASP Top 10 checklist for that. And then burp and OWASP Zap is a friend. Um, you just need to intercept the request from the mobile app as well. If you have a mobile app, and then you need to check on the update servers and the PKI bridge. I would highly recommend, although this is not related to car hacking, the SQLi burp extension, which allows you to interact with the SQL map API to your burp. So, like I said, web hacking is an essential skill. So you need to check if you can manipulate some vehicle functions with some of the unprotected APIs that maybe your car is connecting to or running. Mobile hacking is also an essential skill. You might want to decompile the binaries, the APK or the IPA, which allows you to interface with the infotainment or the entertainment system. You might want to use the Motion for Android emulation and burp proxy to intercept the request, and then check for possible clear text database storage, like the SQLite database, and then check for the API host intercepted. Of course, for this, OWASP applies, and then there are also Android devices being deployed as entertainment system or some systems connected to the car. So you might want to check if you could execute ADB shell on it. And then you can check for hard-coded API keys, and it's pretty much like hacking any other APK files or you know mobile devices. So repeat and check how the app interfaces with the car. Being able to understand that one, that's a very essential skill, for knowledge. One of the examples why I always say this is because one example is the Nissan Leaf fiasco, wherein the VIN was used for authorization purposes in controlling some of the features. Take for example the check climate control. The website is actually redacted for this one, but the VIN number, it allows you to check the climate control. And if the other VIN numbers of the car, which you can just actually see from behind the window, and check for the VIN number, so you could control their check climate control, or maybe control some of the vehicle features. So the whole API is unauthenticated for this one, and only require the VIN to target the vehicle. So any vehicles for the Nissan Leaf during before, and I give credits to Troyan for writing um, this kind of article for controlling vehicle features of a Nissan Leaf. So yeah, it's not just about CAN bus attacks, right? Mobile and web hacking are also essential skills. So right, all right. What if you're in the event right now? What if you're in the bug bash right now? What's next? It's already day zero or day one. So First, you need to read the program brief or rules in a bug bash. Take note because um, you need to get to know the scope of the program and the exclusions of the program. One of the most exclusions there are the kind of bugs that will be report that should not be reported. Take for example, JPS spoofing, DOS via CAN injection. So those are actually uh, you know some of the things that you might not want to report. And then you need to check on what security bugs are of interest to the program. So you might want to check if they really want to check on the authentication or firewall bypass, CAN injection attacks, code execution, and then what CAN messages can you send from the dirty side. So it's also possible that in the program brief you can see some of the known issues that were reported before, and maybe you can find some bypasses for it. Next is, do you have any more questions regarding the scope, or do you have any questions regarding the target vehicles? You can probably ask the program owners for DBC files, which are proprietary format that describes the data over a CAN bus. And then maybe you might want to get the known issues from before if it's not stated in the program brief. And of course, the vehicle network architecture. And from there, hack the planet. So, do you have friends in the event? Do you know someone who you met online from Twitter, or you met them during any other car hacking conference, and you know that this guy has a talent same as you, or maybe this guy could help you with some of the tools that you have? So, how about you team up or collaborate? And I've seen a lot of core hackers who have succeeded by doing so. So, there was this one hacker wherein he doesn't have this kind of tool, and then so he teamed up with that guy, and they work on together, and they were able to open something from the car, right? They were rewarded with 25,000 US dollars for that. Okay, so yeah, like I said, it's all about collaboration for helping each other. Okay, if you want to chain a bug together, then yeah, team collaboration is great. So next up is, right, you already found a bug. So how do you write a good report? So you need to write clear reproduction steps. Here's a sample. So you need to describe what is the vulnerability. So sample. The infotainment is vulnerable to a DOS break caused by format string values via Bluetooth. Here are the reproduction steps. Step one, rename your phone to %P, 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 blah, 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 blah. Then connect your second step, connect your or pair your phone to the infotainment via Bluetooth. Third, use the navigation buttons to control the infotainment, and it should remain stuck, which means you were able to brick the infotainment system. Okay. Then give more information. Like, I also tried restarting the infotainment, and this does not resolve this issue. It only works fine after doing a hard reset. And then, of course, attach a screenshot or a video. So I would like to give a shout out because credit to these people for my inspiration of this talk. So I would like to give a shouts to Hacking Village, Craig Smith for the book, of course, Ian Tabor, Carfucker, Will Corona, Fronders, Techmaker UA, ASRG or Automotive Security Research Group, ASRG Sin or ASRG Singapore, and of course Spectres, Jammy, and Semprex. And of course the cdnet.com for the article that I rip off, uh, you know, just a proof that Tesla actually gave out 35,000 USD to hackers at the Phone to Own event, and also rewarded the duo with a car. If you have any questions, just message me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at shipcode, and then or if you're my friend at Facebook, you could also message me. So stay tuned for DEF CON, and you know, I hope that you will enjoy other Appsec villages uh, talks as well.